Now, the Canelo man fans, they know they done messed up. Canelo fans previously made excuses for Canelo not to fight Charlo. And when he was in talks to fight Plant, they said that Bivol, after those negotiations with Plant fell apart, they said the Bivol was a much greater fight that they are willing to pay for and see. But now, fast forward to the future, it doesn't seem to be the case. We're going to talk about that in this video. Oh, yeah, stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. The best thing you can do 2022, subscribe to the channel. I got a lot in store. We working. Things are starting to heat up in the world of boxing. The year is still young. So subscribe to the channel. We about to cook all year. About to do some different things. Make sure you follow me at Boxingego. Now, this is a tweet that I just released, and I have to explain on my channel that I built with you wonderful people, right? I said, when Canelo versus Caleb Plant September negotiations, September of last year, 2021, when Canelo Plant September negotiations fell apart, they said Canelo was going back to DAZN to fight Dmitry Bivol. Canelo MANFANS said that Dmitry Bivol versus Canelo was a much better fight than a fight with Canelo and Caleb Plant. Now Canelo versus Charlo or Bivol is being reported. Everyone is talking about Canelo versus Charlo and not Bivol, LOL. Now, I don't want to beat around the bush. The great Ego Stradamus strikes again. Old media, they're down bad. They are down so bad. Because once again, this proves what old media says is not true. So, to recap, Canelo did fight Caleb Plant, but he was actually supposed to fight him earlier in the year on the quote-unquote Mexican dates in September. He was in negotiation with PBC. There was this big confusion, and it's making me wonder why Canelo's dates keep falling apart, and it's like almost as if he's buying time or something. You know what I mean? And it's like he said he wanted these dates, Cinco de Mayo weekend and Mexican Independence Day. And then for the last several years, he's missed several of the Mexican dates that were so beloved to him. So this was exactly the case with him and Caleb Plant. Even though Canelo came back to the table with PBC and Caleb Plant's people, and they did fight last. But they were supposed to fight in September, not in November when they actually fought. So the point I'm making is simple. When those negotiations fell apart, and this is the great thing about being a YouTuber and having a career that's online, it is all documented. I've left breadcrumbs, Hansel and Gretel style, for all of you. You guys can check what I said last year, the year before, and so on and so forth. So all the information is up on the channel. I don't delete no videos. Now, when those negotiations with Plant fell apart for September, it was thought that Canelo was going to go over to DAZN, where he had been working with, and he seems to be very fond of Eddie Hearn, and he was going to fight Dmitry Bivol. You guys in my comment section were saying that Canelo versus Bivol is such a great fight, and it's a fight that you want to see, and it's a much tougher, and it's a much more difficult fight than Caleb Plant. Then out of nowhere, Caleb Plant came back into the picture because the reports shifted like, yo, Canelo's team has reached out to Al Heyman and PBC and Caleb Plant's people to get back into negotiations. And then that's who they settled with, and Canelo became undisputed. So let's break this down in a couple different ways. For one, old media lied. They said they wanted to see Canelo versus Dmitry Bivol. I've always maintained the same thing. Bivol at 175 is not a big event, big fight, but he's a good fighter, and he's a crafty fighter. So he's a difficult style because of his style of fight, and he's naturally bigger than Canelo, and he can box, he has some power, blah, 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 right? But there's bigger fights out there, like Caleb Plant was a bigger fight, Charlo, Benavidez, etc. But the fans, they keep telling you things that just pretty much aren't true. They said they wanted to see Canelo versus Bivol, but now fast forward to the future, ESPN and everybody's reporting that Canelo could fight either Canelo versus Charlo, Jermall Charlo, or Canelo versus Bivol. And everybody on boxing Twitter, everybody on Instagram, everybody in Facebook groups, everybody on my channel in the comment section that I'm seeing, all they're doing is talking about the potential for Canelo versus Charlo. The video views that I'm getting, it's like everybody's talking about that particular fight as opposed to Bivol. But when Canelo was just in negotiation, and I'm doing this to prove a point and prove my point of how the Canelo man fans are willing to go with anything. They'll just say anything to protect Canelo or make him look like he's doing and making the right choice. They hated the Caleb Plant fight in September and say, oh, Caleb Plant, he priced himself out. He, who cares about that fight? Bivol was a better fight. And then Canelo's team keep making them look dumb because they went back to the table with Al Heyman. The Canelo fans were saying, oh, Al Heyman got greedy and PBC got greedy and Showtime got greedy. They wanted a multi-fight deal and Canelo just wanted the undisputed fight. Well, guess what? Canelo's been offered one-off fights with PBC. And now it's the same situation with Charlo. And they find out they can make a lot of money together because the Caleb Plant fight was the best fight since Canelo's been on HBO in terms of the build-up, in terms of how it was received by the public, in terms of the pay-per-view buy rate. His other fights haven't been largely on pay-per-view with DAZN, etc. And the old media, they keep telling you like, oh, Dmitry Bivol, that's the fight. That's the fight I want to see because that's the direction you thought when the Caleb Plant negotiations fell apart. That's the direction you thought Eddie Reynoso and Canelo Alvarez, payday, you want payday. That's the direction you thought they were going with, so you were okay with that. But then he came back to the table and fought Caleb Plant. Same thing with Charlo. I've been an advocate and proponent of seeing Canelo fight Charlo since they were at 154. People told me that I was tripping. They said, oh, Canelo, he'll whoop Charlo and Charlo don't deserve it. But then back to reality, in the words of Eminem, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes Nello, we choke. Snap back to reality. Everybody is talking about Canelo versus Charlo. And although Bivol's name has been mentioned as a potential and an offer, the excitement is coming from the prospect of Canelo fighting Charlo. Now, I don't know who Canelo's going to choose. Canelo, he likes to, make the decisions himself. So we'll see. But once again, Igor Stradamus strikes again. And I think the same case will be for what I've been telling you, that David Benavidez and Canelo is a blockbuster fight. That is a great fight. People keep saying like, oh, you're wrong, Ego, and Benavidez hasn't earned it. And this is what Canelo fans do. When it's a tough fight, they always make excuses. And then when Canelo, if he finally decides to fight these people, then they'll justify it and give credit to Canelo as if he's a beast for fighting the people that we've been asking him to fight 5-6 years, and he fights them when he wants, and then he gets credit for it. But the whole time, when people are begging for Canelo to fight these guys in real time, and he doesn't do it, there's a million excuses as to why they don't deserve the fight. Guys like Demetrius Andrade. Like, if Canelo announced he was fighting Demetrius Andrade, all the resistance we've heard about why Andrade, who's he beat, and he sucks, and whoom, the boxing world will give credit to Canelo for finally fighting Andrade, even though it's not. There's been better moments in Andrade's career where a fight with Andrade would have probably been even bigger, based on where they were at. Canelo's already solidified himself as a Don and, a real good fighter. Andrade has been fighting like the worst names possible, So there were better points, but Canelo chooses not to. But the point I'm making is very simple. Even if Canelo decided to fight someone, all that resistance you heard about why should Andrade get it and Andrade can't sell and who's he beat, those would mysteriously disappear and people would start praising the fight because they know it's good. So my theory is simple. If you know there's other good fighters and good B-sides for Canelo or whoever the fighter is, just keep it real. Guys like Jermall Charlo, it was always a good fight, including when Jermall Charlo was Canelo's #1 mandatory at 160. But the Canelo fans, let them tell it, Charlo didn't earn it and who's he beat and he's the Charlotte sisters and kittens only and all this goofy stuff, knowing damn well these are the best and most intriguing fights for Canelo like they've been. Checkmate. And I'm out. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.